Carol Cavalli, and today's episode is going to be a fun one. We really haven't done something like this before, and I think you're really in for a treat. So, if you're into, let's say, the stars, that's a bit of a teaser in a very, very little way, then honestly, this episode, it's for you. Joining us today on this episode, we have Aleksandra. Welcome to the Client Code Podcast. Yay!
Thank you so much, Carol. It's so wonderful to be here with you today.
Honestly, I'm so excited for you to be here. I didn't even want to give a lot away because I know we're going to get into so many meats and potatoes of things today that I was like, this intro is going to be so short because I just want every second to ask all these burning questions that I have. Excited for that. Secretly excited.
I love great questions. So I'm ready. I'm ready to share.
Let's do it. So let's dive right in. Sandra, what is your unique client code?
Oh my goodness. Well, so for those of you who haven't guessed already, I am a professional astrologer. I've been in practice for 20 years. And so I serve entrepreneurs, particularly in healthcare, legal, and actually science-based STEM fields, to grow their businesses and to align their businesses with their purpose and meaning and serve the world. And so I work with the tools of astrology in terms of doing natal readings, not only for my clients, but also for their businesses, and working with the power of forecasting in order to help them really expand their business and potential. And so this is something that I love doing, and I've been doing this for a long time now.
Well, you wouldn't say, because honestly, I'm going to need a skincare routine, a life routine. I'm going to need all the routines. I need you to give them to me.
That's the beauty about astrology, is that we have cycles in every aspect of our life. So, sometimes when I'm working with my clients, I may need to give them a heads up that perhaps this is a year that they do need to take care of their family or their health, because you are a cohesive being. You're not just your business. And
Mhm.
so sometimes I do need to advise my clients that they need to pay attention to other areas as well, because sometimes your business and your entrepreneurship can be a bit consuming, and you forget about the totality of your being. And so sometimes I have to kind of reel them in a little bit and say, hey, remember about these things, because if you don't take care of these things, they're going to affect your business too.
I love that. For someone who's brand new and is like, I feel like I know what astrology is, but it feels a little woo. It feels like I don't really know what's happening. I used to read about it on the back of a magazine. Yes, I am that old. For those people, can you give us a quick synopsis of what astrology kind of is?
Absolutely. So there's really two components to it. But what I would say is that as the stars are literally kind of cycling around in the cosmos, they create cycles. And so just as we have the cycle of the wheel of the year, which everybody knows, we have our summers, we have our winters, our springs, and our autumns, every part of the cycle has its own nature. And so we are born into this world, we partake of the nature of the cycles that we are born in. And so astrology is literally about looking at the different aspects of your psyche and understanding what parts of the cycles that they are connected to, because that creates your unique makeup. It creates
Mm.
like a blueprint of the soul, and it indicates your purpose and the gifts that you have brought in with you in order to fulfill that purpose. And by knowing your nature, it helps you overcome the challenges that you're going to experience along the way. Because I don't know, maybe other people have experienced this, but sometimes this world can be a little problematic. And there's things,
It's
well,
super problematic.
but that's the nature of Earth itself, right? So here we are on in an element that is dense. It is slow to respond. I wish I could instantly manifest whatever I want, but sometimes I'm also thankful I can't.
Yes, yes. I have some idea.
But the nature of the earth itself is that it is slow to adapt and respond. And so we really have to be masters of ourselves first and foremost, so that we can become masters of our craft. And so whatever our personal failings are, that usually extends to our business as well. And so that's why
Mm.
knowing is so important.
I guess once you kind of have a blueprint of who you are, you can sort of see what your strengths, your weaknesses, and you can sort of work towards using those for your advantage or disadvantage, you know? Because now, if you know, hey, I tend to be this kind of way, you can avoid certain situations or you can embrace certain situations wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. So I like to think of business as being in the ring. So I've studied martial arts for many years. And so, people always ask like, well, who's the better fighter? And it's not about who's the better fighter. It's about who's playing their game the best. And so when you get in the ring, and this also applies, in terms of business competition, you need to play to your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And you have someone who's really strong in the ring versus someone who's really fast. Well, most people are going to, look at the strong person and go, oh, well, they're going to win. Well, that's not
Mm.
necessarily so, because if the person who's really fast plays their game well, then they might emerge the winner in that competition. And this is why I love working with astrology, because to me it's, if you were to get in the ring as a fighter, if your business was to get into the ring as a fighter, and it holds the qualities that you hold, what are the assets that you can put forward that are going to basically win the game for you?
Okay. So, since we're stepping into a new season and we're stepping into new things, and also because I like to be selfish, just a little bit, guys, just a little bit, I want to ask, how can we use astrology for forecasting in our businesses?
Absolutely. And that's an amazing question. I'm about to step into my own busy season of astrological forecasting. And so there are a number of uses in terms of astrological forecasting. And this is really part of the multi-tiered and multi-natured aspects of business. So the first thing, first and foremost, that people always want me to forecast are things like marketing and sales. So
Oh,
they
yes.
want to know where their customers' heads are at. So at the beginning of the year, I always do a forecast for the world just to give everyone a sense of where people's heads are at. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, 2025, there's been a lot of caution, I guess is the word that I would use. And so
Mm.
my business clients want to know where their clients' heads are at. They want to know what's
Yes.
in their clients. They want to know what is driving their behavior. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
one that I work with in terms of forecasting. And of course, marketing, the marketing aspects of forecasting as well, which can include things like when to launch products or when to launch a book, as I have a ask me, and sales, but also they will ask me for timing on things such as legalities or the acquisition of things. So I've actually even worked with a couple of property management companies in terms of when to acquire real estate and even where as well. So forecasting is very multi-tiered and multi-natured. But I also need to look at the nature of the business that I'm working with as well when I'm doing that forecasting. Because when I'm dealing with businesses that have a physical product,
Yes.
I also need to forecast things such as their resources. What
Mm.
what are their supplies or suppliers? And do they manufacture in-house, or do they have to pull from outside of themselves? And so when I forecast, especially for businesses that have a tangible product, these are also things that I look at, because what good is a year of incredible sales if you don't have the product to fulfill? Part of your reputation and integrity as a business literally is about your ability to fulfill your promise. And
Mm-hmm.
so forecast, I look at all these aspects. Now, this can also include hiring. This can also include customer relationships, because maybe this is a year to actually focus on client retention instead of new clients and building brand
Yes.
loyalty, right? And so these are all things that I look at in the totality of a business when I forecast for them. Because you want long time loyal customers who are who are cheerleading you. And you also want the ability to always fulfill what you set out to promise to do. And so when I
Correct.
asked, these are the things that I'm looking at, not just sales.
Oh, I love that. And sales are important, but there's so much that goes into creating that sale. I mean, as someone who does the marketing, I know that it takes so much to get someone to the sale. So sales are great, but like there's a lot of other things that we need to do. And having that blueprint and that guidance is really like being one step ahead of the competition. So why wouldn't you want that? Just, that's interesting, but, like, it feels a little woo-woo, it feels a little like, they're a little bit skeptical of it, right?
Yeah.
I know that there's science, I know there's psychology and philosophy behind what it is that you do too. Could you speak to that a little?
Well, absolutely. First of all, I never try to force somebody to believe in something that they don't believe in.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a great approach. Do you, Google?
If you are firm and resolute in the fact that you don't believe it, that's okay. You know what?
Yeah,
You don't have to work with me, right? So
also
so,
true.
you know, I mean, part of what's happening in this world right now is that everybody is so staunch about being right and that if you don't believe them that you're a bad person or that kind of thing. And it's like, well, if it's your cup of tea, that's okay. But
Yes.
perhaps for those who are on the fence,
Mhm.
right?
Let's speak to those. The ones who are
Yeah.
like coughing.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, there is a lot of woo-woo out there.
It's not that it's bad. Listen, I'm a fan. I am a fan. I'm a huge fan. Yeah,
Well, they might not understand how the woo-woo applies to business. And so
correct.
this is where I would like to come in. So one of my personal beliefs, and this is part of a lineage teaching that I've worked with for over 20 years now, is that we are all here to basically be manifestive or creative beings. Creation happens in cycles. We live those cycles every day. The cycles of life, death, and rebirth. We do it on a 24-hour basis. We do it on a monthly basis with the cycles of the moon. And
Mm,
astrology works with the power of those cycles in order to maintain creation. And even in terms of your business, I mean, let's look at it this way. When I first started, Carol,
yeah.
I was with clients by doing free talks and that kind of thing. And that was one mode of business. And for a long time, I kept working that way, and that made my business thrive. But then there came a point in time where that didn't work anymore
Correct.
because of evolution. And so those cycles of life, death, and rebirth absolutely apply to your business. Because if I was to go out into the world and just try to do free talks the way that I used to, it wouldn't work anymore. And so that was something that was a piece of my business that I had to allow to die to free up resources, i.e., my time,
Mm-hmm.
so that I could work in a different way. And astrology works with these concepts in order to manifest. I mean, don't get me wrong. Am I a little woo woo? Yeah, sure. But I am able to bridge, but my work is to bridge that gap between energy and its applications into manifestation. If you want to have a successful business, you have to manifest. That's the bottom line to it. And if you don't understand the cycles that you're in, what they're asking of you, and how to respond to them effectively, then you can't. If you don't understand that your customers are in a protective mode, a cautious mode, and you're talking to them like the world is okay, they're not going to respond to you because you're not hearing and listening to their needs. If you don't understand
Absolutely.
that you are perhaps entering a period of resource scarcity, like say you have a niche resource and you're entering a period of scarcity for whatever reason, trade embargoes or natural disasters, what have you. If you don't understand that you're entering that, then how is your business going to properly adapt? And this
Mm,
technology comes in and gives you a look ahead at what is actually happening so that you can properly respond and be strong in every area of your business. because, as I mentioned right at the very beginning, whatever your personal failings are, where you don't pay attention, where you are not diligent, that's going to be the failings of your business too. And so, if I go back to the original teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, there were these magical words that he said, as within, so without. We need
Mm,
to ourselves on the inside, where our strengths are, where we pay attention, areas we neglect, so that and to ameliorate those things within ourselves, to heal those things within ourselves, to support them so that
yes,
our internal failings don't become the business failings.
I love that. Would you say, what would you say is the biggest characteristic or flaw, if I can say, that you constantly see coming up and you're like, my gosh, could these people just listen? If you just fix this one thing, like you want to like shake someone and you're like, just do this one thing and it might help move the needle forward. What would that be?
Well, I would really boil it down to the word composure.
Ooh,
I would boil it down to the word composure. So I'm going to guess that for everyone listening, there's a good chance that somewhere between 5 to 6 out of 10 hands would go up if I asked, do you experience anxiety?
I'm putting two.
I've got two right there. And I mean, there's a really big reason for that. Number one, if I look at it from an astrological perspective, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and he is the planet that rules over the mind, and he is frequently in what is called a detrimented position. And
Mm,
so because of his proximity to the sun, he is frequently either under the sun's beams or combust. And one of the external observations of behavior of that would be the effects of anxiety to varying degrees. And
okay.
so I use this word composure, and the reason why I use it is because anxiety is really a negative relationship with the unknown. And it is often backed by the presumption that whatever that unknown is negative and bigger than you. So I think to the cartoons, when you're in the cave and there's like the light from the entrance and there's this huge shadow, and then it's just a little mouse that's creating the huge shadow. That's
Yes, yes.
anxiety right there.
Oh, that's such a great way to visualize it.
And so what your mind says to you is giant shadow, but the reality is tiny mouse. And
Okay.
is so necessary because if you prematurely react or shut down because of that huge shadow, then you can't actually effectively deal with the mouse. And
Yeah.
and anxiety, takes molehills and turns them into mountains.
Yes, it
And
does.
that's why composure and the ability to just even say no to your mind or hold it back for like 10 seconds. Sometimes 10 seconds is all you need to get that reality check. And this is why composure is the one thing that I really try to instill in my clients. Because again, I take myself back to the boxing ring. And when there's a really big punch coming in and you anticipate it and you cover up like this, inevitably you get it worse. If you're actually
Mm,
look at to stare that punch right in the face, you can actually deal with it. And
yes,
and and so this is why I like to use that word composure. It is so essential because when you are composed, you are ready and you are able to deploy all of your assets, your resources, your talents, your strengths to deal with anything that comes at you because not everything that comes at you is negative too.
that's also so true. Okay. Now I've heard all the things. I'm excited. I want to get started. Besides hiring you, because obviously, I mean, who wouldn't? Guys, go hire her. She's amazing. Like, go do it. Take my word for it. Trust me. But if I want to dip my toe into astrology, because I'm new to it, where do you think I should start for myself and my business?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to invite you to join me on my website, astrologerroyale.com, because there I have resources that are available so that you can actually start understanding yourself, your gifts, and also how stress impacts you. And so
Mm,
I would absolutely welcome you to download. I have a free ebook called Star Powered Resilience. And it is yeah, it's just a zodiac inspired guide to understanding the strengths and talents that you bring to your profession or your business, but also how stress impacts you. And here's my little pro tip. If you know where Mercury is in your chart and Mars, I would go and read the zodiac signs that correlate to those two planets as well, because that's going to give you additional layers of insight. And so don't worry, Carol, I'll fill you in on that.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. That's an exclusive.
I am never gonna dissuade somebody from delving into more.
Ever I hear about astrology or this or that, and my husband always loves to make a joke. He's like, Mercury must be in the microwave again. It's always in the microwave. And I'm like, I don't think that's how you say that, but I'm just going to let you do your thing. But when people say that Mercury is in retrograde, in really layman's terms, what are they saying? Because I feel like people double down on it and they're like very adamant, like it's Mercury, it's in the retrograde, and we're all supposed to know what that means.
Well, if you go and read what other astrologers say, then you should just put on your hard hat and run and duck somewhere safe because apparently Mercury retrograde is a complete disaster. But
No.
I would really like to go on the record and say that that is not true. So I like to think of the planets as our teachers, and they teach us in different areas. Mercury teaches us about the function of our mind and communication, and a lot of that ties into technology. This is why when Mercury goes retrograde, all anybody can talk about is how their car died, their computer, is malfunctioning, and all kinds of things. There's all those memes. I'm sorry for what I said when Mercury was retrograde.
Exactly.
So, I like to work with it in a different way, however. I consider Mercury retrograde to be a pop quiz. So when Mercury is in his normal forward motion, this is the time where you are in class learning the lesson, how to think clearly, to have a good relationship with your mind, how to communicate your thoughts well, how to be organized, perceptive. So we're sitting in class and we're learning this constantly. And then Mercury goes retrograde and boom, it's pop quiz time.
Yeah, wasn't great at those.
And and that's where you get the chance to really self-reflect because your teacher is not holding your hand anymore. So you get the chance to self-reflect and see where you are powerful. Because for some people, Mercury retrograde passes like this. And each one is a little bit different because sometimes it is more about your organizational abilities. Sometimes it is more about the relationship between you and your mind. Because if your mind is your boss, it's going to drive you crazy during Mercury retrograde. And
Yes.
so one comes with a slightly different theme. But this is, for anybody who has a business, I want to give you my expert little tip. So if I have something new that I am working with, like a new software or perhaps a new system or that kind of thing, I like to do my trial periods during Mercury retrograde. Why? I want to know exactly what could go wrong so that I can manage it from the get go. So I like to test things out during Mercury retrograde. I like to play around.
Yes.
It's not my implementation time, it's my testing period, it's my trial period, because then I get the full scope and the full perspective of what I like about it, but also the full perspective of potential downfalls too. And so you are looking to implement any kind of new software or system or organizational matrix or anything like that, give it a try during Mercury retrograde. You get 3 to 4 periods of it a year. They're 3 weeks long. That's the perfect amount of time to do those kinds of trials or beta testing, or that kind of thing, right? Especially for anybody who's trying to create an app or anything like that, try and do your beta testing during those Mercury retrograde periods, because then you're going to see exactly what could go wrong and how to work with it.
And I mean, that logic too. If you survive the retrograde, imagine how amazing it's going to be when it's not in the retrograde. I mean,
Exactly.
boom. Like, so good.
Exactly.
Okay, I could honestly keep you here till the cows come home because I selfishly want to, but I know I can't. So I'm going to wrap it up in you my favorite last question, which I ask everyone. It's kind of my life mantra. It's something I live by. And it basically goes like this. What you don't change, you choose. So, Aleksandra, what are you choosing today?
Today, I am choosing the thrill of thriving. That's what I am choosing. Sometimes when things are flowing, we like to kind of victimize ourselves, but instead, I am choosing to take the number of people who are asking for service, who are asking to take things to the next level and to experience it as a thrill and a joy because my service is getting out into the world. And that's what I'm choosing today.
Thrilling having you here. It's been such a thrill to learn from you. And I think all our listeners found it captivating and thrilling getting through this episode. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here, for sharing, for just giving us, showing up and being of so much grace and just being yourself. I appreciate it and I love it. So thank you. Thank you so, so much. I really do.
It's been an absolute honor, Carol. I have had so much fun with you. Thank you for having me.
No, that's not the end. Wait. Alexandra, where can the people find you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, you can find me on astrologerroyale.com. You can also find me on Instagram as at Pallas, Pallas .Alex, Aleks. And then you can
Oh,
also find me on Facebook, Aleksandra Cheho. And I would be honored to connect with you. And don't forget to download your free ebook so that you can discover the best about your stars and also how to mitigate stress along the way, because we're not in a perfect world.
yeah. Ain't that the truth? Okay, so that is it. Go get the ebook. I personally actually did go get the ebook and it was really, really nice. It's a very simple read. It's like one page. So go get the ebook. Go change your life. Go improve 1% today. Okay, go do that. And with that, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Carol Kabale. This is the Client Code Podcast, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.